All right, so in our last episode, we had just escaped from the Vizori prison with the help of Dr. Destruction and his wonderful escape pods. The next thing that Dr. Destruction did was he sent us a contact, which was the guy that I mentioned before, but we didn't actually see him in action, was Machiavelli, the mind control specialist type guy. And so what happened at this point was that Dr. Destruction wanted us to acquire this device. We didn't know what the device was, and he wanted us to acquire it, but apparently it existed in the underground lair of some other supervillain whom we didn't really... I want to say it was something like Tremor or something like that, but it was basically this guy that had been a supervillain who had been known for attacking with all kinds of crazy robots and stuff like that. And they knew that he lived somewhere in the sewer, but he was really well hidden. We didn't know where in the sewer exactly he was. And one of the things that Dr. Destruction wanted us to do was take a special device that someone else had, or I think it was a device that he had made, and we needed to take this device with us into the sewers. And after we took it into the sewers, we were supposed to hook it up to this other device that had been made by that other supervillain. So, first thing we had to do was find a way to actually get the thing into the sewers, because it was like just ridiculously large. It was like a 450-pound piece of equipment. So we spent time kind of like looking around, and some of our party, mostly Machiavelli and Mr. Smith, went around, and Machiavelli found a guy who was like a city worker, and he mind controlled him into telling him, where can we find an access point into the sewer where we can actually go through and, find like a service elevator that would take us down so that we wouldn't have to like blow a hole in the sewer or something crazy like that. So he mind controls a dude. We find our way in. We go into the sewers. And the first thing is that we go into the sewers and we are just lost as hell. We have no idea where we're actually supposed to be going. We find this place that has all kinds of graffiti and a bunch of other bullcrap like that, but we have no idea where any of it is leading anybody. And at that point, we get attacked by these wonderful creatures called groks, which are like a combination between a frog and a crocodile that were brought over to Earth because the Vizori didn't like people hiding from them in the sewers, and they didn't cause any problems for the Vizori, so they just like unleashed these ridiculous creatures into the sewers to kill people that they didn't really think they wanted to deal with anyways. So we get attacked by a group of these things, and we fight them. Our first buddy, Blindside, he went ahead of us, and he was trying to warn us about them at first, and he's like, making signals back to us. We have no idea what he means, and then he starts getting attacked by one. Some of us get kind of beaten up. My character manages to absolutely destroy one of them with one of his laser swords, because he just slices the goddamn thing in half, just utterly destroying it in one hit. Deadshot manages to kill one of them, or not Deadshot, I'm sorry, Blindside manages to kill one of them. Mr. Smith transforms himself into a gorilla and like starts trying to pound on one of them or something like that. Our commander, who's I keep on calling him Commander, but his actual character name is Warmonger. Warmonger goes through and he like starts shooting them up, and he shoots them really good, because almost every time that he's attacking one of these things, his dice blow up. And what that means is that you roll the maximum number on a die, and you can keep rolling another die and adding more and more damage. So he like deals ridiculous damage to these things. It's absolutely insane and silly and just a lot of fun. We managed to clear out those things, and afterwards we find this guy that was trying to hide from them, and Mr. Smith basically tells him, if you help us, we're not going to kill you or hurt you. And he convinces him nicely. And the guy tells him, well, since you guys are looking for robots, go in that direction. We go and we find like some broken robots and stuff. And that leads us to the lair of this dude, or at least towards the entrance. And it has like a thick, huge door. We have to find a way to open the thing up. And what we end up doing to get the door open is, I'm trying to think what his name is again. Warmonger goes through and he uses his repair skills to figure out how to like jimmy the door open. We get inside, and as we're inside and we're like checking stuff out, we find this really awesome underground sewer layer thing going on. And we get attacked by this ridiculous giant robot that's like powered by magma. And, you can like see the magma and like clear tubes going through it, almost like blood. And it decides that it wants to absolutely destroy us because obviously we're intruders. We end up having to fight this thing, and it is a long, arduous fight. I can barely do any damage to it. I can't get through its parry. Mr. Smith turns himself into a freaking dragon and starts fighting with it. And the thing that actually screws it up enough that it can actually be damaged or exposed to any damage at all is that it tries to attack the fiddler. And the fiddler is so cursed that when it tries to attack the fiddler, it hurts itself massively. And that basically opened it up so that everyone else could finally finish the damn thing off. We go through the area, and after we've finally finished beating up the giant robot, we explore the lair. We find the control panels that actually open the inner sanctum of the lair. We find that the original supervillain who had inhabited the place had unfortunately died in there. So we go through and we find him, or I should say we find his body. We decide to go through and enshrine his body and give him a proper burial out of like respect for one of our fallen greats, kind of a thing. And the nice thing is we actually go through and acquire the lair. We also hook up the ridiculously expensive device to the other device, and we figure out that what it basically is it's transporting energy to Dr. Destruction, but we don't really care. We set up the device so that it does what it's supposed to do. Dr. Destruction rewards us money. I also go through and I loot the robot that we had to fight, and I sell its claws because it was made of ridiculously expensive metals, and I get a bunch of extra money from that. I start getting armor and other things like that. We basically take over that lair, and that is what happened in our second adventure. See more on the next episode.